So today I am making the video as the part of my psychology series in which uh, I want to take some of the topics which can be easily explained, and I hope so. It will be quite beneficial for the people who go through it. So it's the topic. It's a chapter of the class 12th CBSE, and it's a chapter 2, self and personality. As you are aware of, first I'll give my introductory remark about this chapter. First, this chapter carries a lot of weight for the exam. So many questions are asked. Either it may be objective questions and the subjective questions. But apart from its importance in the exam, this chapter actually is the one of the pillar around which many concepts, theories revolve around. So therefore, this you all of you need to understand this chapter quite properly. In these videos, I am not using the board because for those who require that, there will be the videos available for that kind also. But it's just an explanatory videos. Other things like notes or other things. At the same time, using the pen tablet and sharing the board or screen sharing, that will be also available, or it can be available uh, in the classes which are provided to the children either through the online or in the classroom, in which when we keep providing the notes as well as the everything is shared, the screen is shared. But this lecture is explanatory one, largely explanatory one. I keep it easy, and then anybody who just understands it very well can get the stuff for the notes also in these explanations, and that explanation itself is more than enough to write in the exam. So first of all, for many children, because class after class 10th, when just you take a new stream in class 11, psychology is a totally a new stream. There is no introduction of that stream before. So in 11th, you just come across this discipline. Secondly, this discipline is very young discipline in comparison of the other disciplines which we are studying, like physics, chemistry, or biology, or any other humanities discipline also. Because this discipline started coming into the shape in the beginning of the 20th century, around the 1905 or 10, around which many psychologists had emerged and gradually started defining it. Without taking much time on that one, because there will be other topics which will come up, then I will really explain the history behind it, or in the lecture of the class 11th. That historical perspective will be covered there. So first of all, I just want to explain what do you understand by self and personality. These words are widely used by the common people in their day-to-day conversation. A lot of people, when they don't draw the meaning of self properly, they always consider it. It is something more philosophical and spiritual linkages, and that's why the self is more or less linked to spirituality more. And the personality is largely used by the common man in context of, largely by the common man in the context of the physical features first, and then there are certain kind of the human values, ethics a, a person carries in his life, around which also you construct the human personality. So that's why this is a very much commonsensical usage of self and personality in a common man's life there. But its meaning is a much wider in context, in practice, and somehow it equally widens in the context of psychology, and it actually links it with the some context of philosophy. But in the crude language, if we want to understand this, how can we put it up? So first of all, you need to understand the self is the self and personality in combination actually defines our existence. That's why these two words are consistently referred. In our existence also, sometimes to give meaning to our life, we use these terms quite consistently and frequently. If we see personality, which is a very definitional part of the personality, is it's the relatively stable pattern of behavior, or relatively you can find a stable pattern of behavior that reflects the personality of a person. So a stable pattern means either you are honest, you are very expressive, but you are consistent in your approach. And that consistency is read by any individual or the person himself or herself, and can come to the conclusion that this personality pattern defines a particular kind of personality for a person. Either a person is pessimistic, optimistic, person is introvert or extrovert. Anything, just any adjective you want to add in order to define personality, you can do so. But the but the self is all about many experiences of your life which you come across from your childhood, and then these experiences become the part of your conscience, which you explore time to time for resolving different kinds of problem of life. And these kind of the problem, these kind of the approaches are quite helpful to understand the entire scenario. So self and personality we combine together. Personality in terms of the very definite pattern of the behavior, which is very consistent pattern of the behavior. And self can be seen in terms of the wide range of experiences we acquire through our exposure to society, our engagement with people, our different experiences in the different civilizational and the cultural settings. So if we combine all these things together and we see in this context, this is a very simple introductory part, which I try to link with the common man's usage there. Now we just try to slightly unfold it in a true definitional sense. What do you mean by the self? Self, I already referred it, gets your totality of your experiences there. But if you want to define it, then it is very easy. And the majority of experiences are conscious experiences, so don't just get confused. Any kind of the unconscious experiences which you are not aware of, that will be covered under this. So the self refers to the personality, refers to the totality of the conscious experiences, all the experiences of all kinds. It becomes the part of your consciousness. And ideas which comes, like suppose many experiences of your give birth to the many new ideas. Then you develop a thought, you get some feelings out of these experiences. It can be the feeling of ecstasy, it can be the feeling of happiness, joy, sorrow. It can be negative and positive both. Uh, in the context of the person himself, so just understand it. It's about the individual conscious, totality of the individual conscious experiences, thoughts, and feelings. That will be considered. Every person can have a different self, can have a different conscious experiences, can have a different way of looking into the life, looking different aspects of the life. So therefore, every person's self will have a different manifestations. So don't forget that idea of the variety of manifestation a person is quite capable to feel or just see in his own life or in his own behavior when it comes to the various ideas of the life there. So that's why the very much a very basic definition. So I don't think this is very easy. In definitional term, you can easily define self, in totality of conscious experiences, feeling, thoughts, emotions, in individual's life, or you can say in the life of himself or herself. You can say with regard to herself or himself. So this is a completely an individual experience. That's the very much part of the our self part there. But self should always be seen. Self is not only the self, which is just because that we can fix within the boundary of this definition. If you see, it's another extension. So we can talk about identity of a person. Identity is the person. So self also helps us to construct identity, or just imagine your own identity. Who are you, and how do you see yourself in society? So in that context, if a person doesn't carry a lot of conscious experiences in the life, in that context also, any person, even though the also form layman also form the idea of some sort of identity of himself or herself, and those identities are actually uh, can be confined into the two parts. The first is the personal identity, and the second is the social identity. So, personal identity are those identity which make the person different from others. So that can be a completely individual quality or ability which makes one person different from others. So suppose if I describe myself, yeah, I'm an honest person, or I tell my name to someone, I am this person or I am that person. That name itself is my identity. It's a new identity. It also the name itself defines my gender identity also. But gender identity can be the identity which can be also the personal identity. It gets tagged there, but gender identity is a slightly broader identity. In the gender identity, we share that gender identity with many people. It will be much fair. It will be a fairer approach for all of us to put that identity into the social identity, because society sees you in that identity there. But the personal identity should always be seen in the context of the identity of the person for himself and herself. It's totally confined to a person's own belief, their own understanding about himself or herself, and when the person sees himself or herself in a particular way, he's a nice person, he's an honest person, he is very punctual, he is very consistent, and then see his identity in that way. Then his identity will be the personal identity. But social identity are those identity of person which links him with the society or the culture. So if I refer I'm Hindu, that identity it totally confines me because I belong to that religion. Similarly, when I politically I represent a party, politically I am attached to a political party. My loyalty is totally fixed to a political party. In that context, I will be bound to say my social identity, it will reflect my political identity as well, because I have a certain ideologies which support the ideology of a particular party. And the caste identity is a social identity by virtue of my birth. I have not decided I will be born in this group or this caste. But that was by virtue of my birth, I become the member of the particular caste without my choice or without my any kinds of the assertion. Either I want to be the part or I don't want to be the part there. Religion is also is the part where just you get a religious identity since your birth when you are born there. Later on, there is a constitutional provision in which through which you can discard your religious identity, but you can't discard your gender identity. You can discard your many other identities and you can claim that one. But at many occasions, it is not viable. It is not very much the part of people's acceptance there. If I claim myself as an atheist, but when it comes to because atheist doesn't enjoy the majority, or there is no significant numbers of the atheists in society. So as a result, whenever I claim myself as an atheist, I will not get that identity very naturally, social identity. Whenever any attack happens on me, it is done by any Muslim or anybody, then that attack on me will be considered as an attack on Hindu, because I have to defend my identity being a Hindu rather than atheist there, because my name and other things also define my identity. My personal identity, when I add Nishant Kumar, then it defines the identity of mine being a Hindu, because that seems to be that there is no definition where I can define my name as a Muslim at the time. If my surname somehow defines it as a Muslim, though I claim it, so my one identity interferes with the other identity also. At times, when it comes to assert my rights, it comes to assert my other privileges, or I just want to take some other route there. My personal identity at times starts interfering with my social identity, or some of the identities which actually I want to create in my life, it starts interfering with it. So like caste can be the one of the identity, religion can be one of the identity. So so you should not separate your self from these two identities, because in your conscious experiences, your two identities are consistently playing role from the childhood. So you have to factor in these two very important identities in your life when you really want to evaluate self in a totality there. And then personality should also be seen in the context of self, personal identity, and social identity. When all these things interact together, how do just because it act there. So now, just because I'm binding up the this whole explanatory video, this is all about the self, personal identity, and social identity, and how do you see personality in all contexts there. In my next video, I will just take up the other topic of this same chapter, and then you will be able to understand, and probably it will help you to unravel many truths behind it, many complicated understanding behind it. Thank you very much. Thank you.